Okay, want to do a video tutorial for you here on behalf of the Charlie Bates Solar Astronomy Project, exclusively for the Charlie Bates Solar Astronomy Project, on the use of the imaging source IC Capture software. Okay, so let's get started on this. In my start menu there I've got it IC Capture. Let's open this up. Boots up. There we go. As you can see, I've already got camera set up on the sun. Camera's a DMK31. It's connected up to a Coronado double stacked 40mm scope. What I want to go through in this tutorial is just a few of the settings, different settings in IC Capture, also how to record it, and then few of the different things we can do there, and then in a later tutorial we'll look at processing the videos that we've taken today. Okay, so first things first, you should see obviously we've got the window here showing our sun. You need to get a few things up and running here. First of all, we've got different icons. You can see, there we go, if you go into view mode you've got the different toolbars. We've got the toolbar manager there. I've got the main toolbar, device bar. Okay, a few different ones there. Colour and backlight, that's not appropriate to a black and white camera. We've got these different ones running there. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is tell it where to capture this image to. You've got this little icon up here in the top left, which is the recording control dialog box there. If we click on that, we've got quite a few things going on here which I want to talk about. First thing is the file name. If we click on that box there, we can see here we've got a number of things going on. We've got the codec. We always want it on uncompressed and Y800. Anything else and you are just throwing data away. So this is a real important one. Always make sure you're on Y800 uncompressed there. Okay, next things, we've got the, I always have automatic file naming enabled here, like this. We need to tell it where we're going to save this file to. So I'm going to click here. At the moment I use my D drive. I'm going to change that. Click on data, D, make a new folder. I'm going to call this folder sun, and today's date is, just check that, the 18th of August. There we go, so let's create that folder there. So click OK. So there we are, we created a folder called Sun 18th of August. So next thing, we can assign a file prefix to it. I tend to use this to tell me a bit about how I'm recording for future reference. So I'm using double stack 40 and I'm actually recording at f20. I've got it's f10 in its native mode. I've got a 2x Barlow on the end. I'm recording in f20. Then we index them like that. I always start off in 1. We've got timestamp there. I'm recording it with the year, month, date, hour, minute and second. Again, this is pretty useful if you at a later date find anything interesting and want to know when it's been taken. And it gives you down there, as you can see, an example. It's live. See the seconds are changing away there of the video, the file name that we're going to get. Okay, so that's that one there, the video file. If we look at this other setting here in advanced, let's click on that. A couple of things we can do. We can tell it to record for a certain amount of time. So for instance 15 seconds, as I've got there. We can alter that using the little arrows like that. Alternatively, the way I tend to do is tell it the number of frames you want to capture. Quite simply, you'll find the frame rate varies from time to time. It should be 30 frames a second with the DMK31, but this can vary, this can go up and down. So I've got it capturing there 8,000 frames. So let's just go back to there. Really important here, you click apply. If you don't click apply, this isn't going to work. Okay, so we're going to click apply there, click OK. We don't need that set up there. So got this window here. Let's have a little look on here. There we go. There's that button again. Got a record, pause and stop button there. It's telling us the codec, having that Y800, which is one file name. It's also going to tell us how long it's recorded for, the number of frames. It's telling us the number of frames it's going to record to, in this case 1,000. Okay, so as you can see, we are recording live here. We are recording live in the UK, so there are clouds floating around. So I'll take this opportunity just to have a little look around some of the different features, some of the different functions of this IC capture software. So going along, we're in video mode there, like that. That's a new file. We can do in snapshot mode, so it'll take individual single frames. The one which you are going to find the most useful, in fact valuable, is histogram here. Okay, and what this shows us, this gives us an indication of how much of the 255 or 256 levels of grey are being used by the camera at the present time. And you can see here it's not very many, maybe one or two. That's because the sun's behind a cloud. Okay, a few settings. If we click around, we can do this visualize zeros. That just puts yellow there. I just tend to have it clicked. There's no reason why you wouldn't not want to. I don't think. It just makes it obvious to me when you are using or not using the whole of the display. The other one, which I have clicked here, is on logarithmic. Okay, it's easier to see that change when we've got a bit of information going on. I don't have clipped at all. Okay, so we've got the histogram there. So moving around, a few key functions, key features. We want to make sure here we're recording AVI. There we go, which we definitely want to be doing. We want to be making sure we are recording in this Y800 1024 by 768 frames, like that. Again, we can select here. There's a whole load of different compressions we can do, but by far the best one is this Y800 because absolutely no information is lost. Okay, moving along, sun's starting to come back now, that's good. Moving along, we can change the frames per second we're recording in. The DMK records at 30 frames a second, so I've got it set at 30 frames a second. If I wanted to, I can drop it to progressively lower, but not really much point in that. That brings me on to my next slider here, which is for exposure. That's the time it's exposed at. It's really important that it is shorter than the number of frames a second it's recording. So for instance, if I had this, I'm the wrong way there, if I had this recording at a 1/9 of a second, you can see it's gone very jumpy, very jittery there. It can't record 30 frames a second. It needs to be running at 30th of the second at least to record these 30 frames a second, which is what I've got it running at now. To do that, we need a cloud to go properly for us here. Maybe it will in a minute. To do that properly for us, we can use the gain selection here. You can see on the histogram over here how it is progressively filling up the histogram like that. Okay, I'm not using all of the histogram there, I'm probably only using 200. Will it tell me if I click on it? No, it won't tell me. Let's have a look. Only won't tell me how many shades of grey I'm using. Maybe 220, something like that there. I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, the point is you're not using the full 256 shades of grey that are available. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to try and fill up as much of this histogram as we possibly can. I think we can get away with doing a little bit more there. And we could do that by increasing the exposure, as you can see there, but I know now I'm not going to be recording my 30 frames a second. So what I need to do, get back to a 30th, that's the minimum I want to be running on this camera, and slowly but surely over here with the gain slider, whoops, way too much there, is increase the gain. And generally, what are we looking at around about here? 285 seems about optimum, something like that. 290 maybe. I'm going to do 285, just about clipping there, very, very nearly. Okay, so I've got my settings saved there. Clouds are going to wander across again any moment now, no doubt for me. What I want to look at then is this function here. This is gamma, and There's lots of talk about gamma on the different forums on the internet as to what value of gamma should be used. In the case of the DMK31s, gamma 100 is neutral, okay, and less than 100 and plus above 100 aren't neutral, okay. I'm going to show you how that works in a minute. So what people often do, one of the things people often do, is they alter the gamma and use a lower value of gamma to bring out the contrast in the image, okay. And here we go. If we drop this down to, say, I don't know, 50 for argument's sake, there we go, on 50. Let's just have a little look at what this is doing to the image. Yeah, it's made this lovely contrasty image like this, but what else is it doing? Well, let's have a look at that. Let's look at the histogram. This is the crucial thing here. It's stretching everything in this half of the histogram. It's all being stretched out, but everything this side of the histogram, little transit from a bird there, everything on this side of the histogram is being compressed, which is why all of a sudden our filaments have gone a lot darker, the clouds have gone a lot darker, and the sunspots have gone a lot darker. Okay, so is this a good thing, is this a bad thing? Well, that's up to you to decide. If we go the other way, let's try 150. What we can see, it's nearly on 150 there. There we go. If we're on 150 there, what we can see is happening is it's stretching the shadows, which makes these prominences much easier to see, but it's compressing the highlights, the brighter part of the images. Again, what's the big deal? You know, what does it matter? It's showing up the problems really well here. Well, I like to think that we can do all of this in post-processing later, when first of all we're operating in 16 bits, and secondly, now by altering it now, you're changing the raw data, you're throwing away data, you're automatically compressing and stretching some data using software that isn't necessarily the most versatile, most ideal piece of software to do the job. Okay, a couple of other functions we got here. Let's just have a little look around. We've got the zoom in and zoom out. I've got it on 50% there. This is all going to depend on your individual monitor. I'm on the laptop here, it's not a particularly huge screen. I use 50% just so I can get all the windows, well, visible, really. There we go. But by clicking on the magnifying glass, we can make that bigger, smaller, whatever. Okay, so bring it down to there. Right, let's look at doing some capture here now. We might have some sun for a little while, I think, so we'll make the most of it. So I've put it on 100%, and what I'm just going to do now is just going to wiggle around, is just ever so slightly adjust the focus. Hopefully get something sharp here. Now bear in mind this is only 40mm aperture, so there's not a lot going on. Quite difficult to see things on the screen. Clouds are coming as well now. Okay, and you've just about got focus there, so I'm going to zoom out again, back down to 50%, just so I can see the whole thing visible. So when the sun comes back in a moment, shouldn't be many seconds, got a big clear patch coming after this cloud. I want to show you a few things about aligning the image, rotating the image to set it up. Okay, so question to ask then is, how do we know which is the right way around on the sun? Well, if we flick over here to the internet, I've got Gong, the Gong site here running. We've got the web address up there, halpha.nso.edu. Okay, we've got the Gong site running there, and we can see what's going on. So we've got this big prominence down here at 4 o'clock, and the filaments, well, the large filaments are all mainly in the southern hemisphere. Okay, so I want to set up my image on screen so that I'm getting the same sort of view. Okay, and we can see now that quite clearly isn't right, so we need to adjust that so it is. So all I'm going to do, you can't see me doing this on screen, is I've got the camera slackened in the nose piece, and I'm just going to rotate it around. Remember that filament was at 4 o'clock or thereabouts. We're looking about right there, 4 o'clock. But you'll notice the filaments now are. Let's just move this over a little bit. There we go. You notice this prominence, sorry, at 4 o'clock. You notice the filaments I said before, if we just flip back, they're in the south. We want them in the south, not in the north. They're in the north. Let's get that the right way around. The reason for that is I am using a diagonal. So up here, got another couple of buttons. We can flip vertical, like that. And that should give us proms at the bottom. Now you can see here the angle of this, filaments at the bottom. Proms, the one at 4 o'clock. Not quite right there. So I'm going to rotate that round a bit more. There we go. That's looking pretty much something similar. Yeah, they're all pretty much in a line going straight across if we look. So they aren't a million miles away there. Just line that up a touch. And then what I'm going to do now, useful little trick this. In my hand I've got the hand controller for the telescope, and what I'm doing, let's just drop the speed. I'm on a huge speed there. I'm something nice and slow. There we go. Now we need to align our image with respect to the chip so that our up and down buttons are all working the same way. So you can see I'm pressing the up arrow now. It's going up but diagonally up, pressing the down arrow diagonally down. Rotate that round just a little bit. Let's try that. And let's have a look. That's going pretty much up and down. I'm going to do a little trick here. You can see the large spot AR11818 there at the top of the image. I'm just going to press the left and right arrows, and if my frame is level, he should keep the same distance along the top of the image there, which he's doing. So I know that's level. So let's just tighten that up in a second. I'm just going to check my focus again. Make sure we get some focus here, because I do want to record these frames and use them to show you how to process this very same image later on. So there we go. We've got a reasonably sharp image there. Actually got some clear sky coming here too. So again, let's check our histogram. I'm moving around the sun, find the brightest part, which I think is where around AR11817, here, where there's been a bit of flaring in the past 24 hours. An M-class flare went off. It accounts for all this bright plage around the area here. Yeah, we can see from the histogram, I'm using pretty much all the histogram there. And some people will disagree. They'll say you need to use 90%, 75%. My argument is you really aren't using as many, of the different shades of grey as you possibly can. We can always change this later on in post-process. I'm actually going to drop the image down a little bit there. There we go, 280. Drop the gain down to 280 just to try and keep that in. So look, I've got clear skies here. Okay, so we'll just get the frame that we want. Something like that. There we go. And all I do here is hit the record button. There we go, and hopefully it's recording a bit slower here than it does normally because I've got the capture software running for this video in the background. But you'll get the general idea. It runs at 30 frames a second. It's not running anywhere near that at the moment. It's running more like 20 thereabouts, somewhere in that region. So I'm going to let it capture its 1000 frames. I'll do its 1000 frames. There we go, halfway there. It is running really slow. This normally it would have captured them by now in about 60% of the speed. Probably hear the laptop whirring away in the background as well. So we'll just let that capture. There we go, just 1000. Hopefully we're going to get no errors here now. There we go, so it's captured our 1000, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to move it across. There we go, get it all in. Make sure I'm not missing any proms on that southern edge. There we go. Again, you can see there we're not clipping. I'm not altering any brightness or any settings or anything now. I've started recording. We want all them the same because it'll just create havoc later on. Else, okay, so we're running really slow here, about 20 frames a second. Normally it runs a lot quicker than this, so we'll just get these. I want to get a decent amount of overlap on this. I could probably take this disc in 4 frames if I wanted to, probably just get away with it, but it'll be harder work later on in Photoshop. And let's let that record. There we go. So I'm just going to bring that down now. We're about half the disc, so we can see it pretty much halfway, top and bottom there, like that. So we hit record again. You'll notice that's dropped off, but then again, if you remember, we've got this bright flaring active region down there that's causing all this excess brightness. Not changing any of these settings. Okay, leave the settings as they are. It's really, really important. Okay, so we'll let that record. Again, it's churning away about 20 frames a second. Normally it does do 30 frames a second. Doesn't like what I'm running in the background, which is this video software today. There we are, 650, 700. Well, just let that catch up. Again, just to remind you, this is a double stacked image. Okay, the view through the scope is pretty much exactly what I'm getting on the camera here as well, which is the way I like to record images. Okay, so move this across. The other quadrant, make sure we get that lovely prom there. Okay, hit record. You'll notice now the histogram is filled back up. I'm not quite using it all. I can see I've got this little yellow slither. That's the reason I like to use these yellow slithers, because it shows me easily, quickly, how much of the histogram I'm using. Okay, so like I was saying, double stacked image with double stack, a lot more contrast visible. You can see all the filaments stand out. Got lots and lots of filaments cutting across the sun today, and also this prominence here. I suspect I've got a bit of a filler prom going on there, which is when you get one of these filaments going over the edge, and some of it's still on the limb, and some of it's still on the disc. Okay, that's what we call a filler prom. Okay, nearly there. Taking really slow today. So just 2 more to capture now. So bring that down. There we go. And people say, let's click record while I'm talking here. People say, is it possible to record prominences and the disc in one go? Well, yep, quite clearly it is. So that huge one we got just down there. There we go. I can see we've got another one going there. I suspect there might even be a bit of a filler prom there. A little dark smudge there. I think it was a bird or something going in front of the screen, or in front of the scope, should I say. A little bit of brightness going on in this active region today. Not sure what that one is. Looks like it could be a new one. That's again something you can check out on the websites. So let's just get the last of this in here. Plenty of overlap is the key. Also, make sure you notice here I've got plenty of space either side around the disc itself. Reason for this is that if there are any prominences visible that might not be visible on the screen at the minute, when we do post-processing, those will come out nicely. So there we go, last frame for this mosaic I'm doing here. There we go, the cat's saying hello to us now. There we go, that's recording away. Pretty blank segment of the sun that one is in comparison to the rest, but that's the way it works. Probably just in time for the clouds here as well, because the next batch of clouds is rolling up, as it does in true fashion here in the UK. So there we go. Again, the histogram. I can see this big yellow blotch here. I'm not using that much of the histogram there, but I'm not going to alter the exposure, I'm not going to alter the gamma, I'm not going to alter the gain or anything else. Okay, just let it record. And I've got one more thing I do want to show you. Actually, I was looking around on the screen, realised that I've overlooked. I do want to talk about because it's important. It's something that people think doesn't do anything, but it does. It does do quite a bit. Okay, so I've recorded those 6 panels there. Cat shouting away at me in the background, you may or may not hear. Okay, this one here, what this is doing, this is adjust the black level. Okay, so let me just show you something. I'm on 280 there for the gain. If I increase the gain, I'm altering this point here. Okay, I'm making it bigger, making the number bigger, so it's recording more light. Okay, so there we go. Now that's making it bigger there. Let's just bring that to 280. There we go. Now what this one does here, we might not see it on this screen, but I will use it to show you. This alters the black level, the black point, which is this one here. It's going to bring it to the right. So if I bring this up, there you go. Can you see how we've got this strip of yellow? Remember I said I like the strip of yellow? This is why I like it, because it shows very easily what's happening. Got the strip of yellow visible. Okay, drag it back. There it goes. Comes back. What's the point in that, you might say? Lifting the black level up, so it's going to introduce more noise. Well, okay, there is a point to this, and I'll show you this now. If I drop the gamma, for instance, let's bring the gamma down to 50 for argument's sake. There we go, on 50. What's happened is, so let's have a look. Watch carefully on the histogram here. It's all shunting this way to the left, and it's stretching everything out on that side. So watch this. Let's bring it out. So it's stretching things out on that side, on the right hand side of the histogram, but on the left hand side it's squashing it all down, it's compressing it all in. In fact, it's pushing it off the end of the histogram. It's throwing data away. Okay, and look carefully around the limb. We can't see any prominences. Let's just move around. Remember how before there was a nice prominence visible there? Well, I can just about see it, but not very well. And if we go down here, oh look, there's our big prom, which isn't really quite as impressive anymore, not really very visible. Let me just show that again, so there you can see. Keep it on 100, bring it down to 50, but by lifting up this black point, watch carefully now, watch carefully around the prominence, you can lift it out. Doesn't seem to make much difference. That's because our gamma's too strong. But what we can do, if we increase the gamma, we want to get the point. The clouds are coming back. There we go. 75. Just starting to get that yellow line back. Saying to me, I could probably go on 70 there. Yeah. That's saying to me it is throwing data. Well, it's not anymore. It's not throwing data. It's just compressing it. But if we drop that down, can you see it shifts it? So my advice to you, if you are running with low gamma, i.e. less than 100 default value, make sure you are running with a higher black level, because you're going to get, well, I think compresses the data, as I say, does compress the data, but you're at least then not throwing as much away as you were as if it's low down. But apart from that, if you're running with that normally on gamma 100, for instance, then it's not going to make the slightest bit of difference. In fact, it's just going to introduce noise. So keep it on 0. Okay. Right. I think we've just about covered all these things here. Let's just have a quick flick around, make sure we have. Oh, we have got region of interest. I'll talk about region of interest. I always use full frame, but what you can do is click on the icon there. We can, it's not going to work very well with clouds. Just coming from behind the cloud soon. We could, for instance, specify a region of interest. There we go. Say that bit there. It's telling us how big our region of interest is. Say we just wanted it around that prom. Let's select that. Okay, and then it just does that bit there. That could be the case if you're running a very large image camera, and you say, for instance, you've got a sweet spot with a PST, you didn't want to record out of this sweet spot. Could be useful then. Could be useful for making file size smaller as well, which hence makes processing quicker. What other things have we got here? If we want to stop that, There we go, that gets rid of it. So we can specify it. So oops, let's specify around these interesting bits here. There we go. Okay, what else have we got? So we can select that as a region of interest. There we go. We can center the region of interest, undo it, redo it, reset it. Okay, I don't really use region of interest, don't really see the point, but again, people might find it useful now and then. Most of the other things are locked. Things, let's have a look at some of the other menus. Let's have a look at what we've got. We've got things like noise reduction. I've always had it disabled. It's just taking an average. I don't really think there's much point in it. Debayering, that's not going to apply because we're not using a colour camera. Again, there you go, region of interest. Drive control, we could do it that way if you wanted to. Properties, settings, there we go, all the usual ones. Auto max value, we're not going to do any of those. We've got the auto settings there. They're not really suitable for solar. I don't think that they need to do. Okay, so there we go. Quick tour of, well, not a quick tour at all, but a tour of the DMK31. What we'll do later on is I will talk you through these 6 IVs that we've taken today, this afternoon, and let's process them. We'll run through AutoStack, and then after that we will run them through Photoshop. Okay, so hopefully it's not too long. Thank you for listening. Again, not saying it's the best way, not saying it's the only way, just happens to be the way that I do it. I hope that it is of some use to some people. Okay, thank you.